Avery Monroe never wanted to set foot inside the Plaza Hotel again. Not after everything that happened with Logan Pierce. Not after the divorce papers stained with her tears. Not after he made sure every circle in Manhattan believed she was the unstable, ungrateful wife who held him back. But on this cold Friday night, under the glow of the gold chandeliers and the soft hum of violins, she had no choice. Her small Brooklyn agency was covering the Bright Futures Charity Gala, and she was assigned to capture behind-the-scenes content. She walked through the revolving doors, clutching the strap of her worn camera bag, trying not to stare at the line of Mercedes and Bentleys pulling up outside. This world used to terrify her. The lace dresses, the champagne towers, the forced smiles hiding sharp teeth. It still did, in some ways, but nothing terrified her more than the possibility of seeing him. Logan, her ex-husband, the man who once told her she was lucky to stand next to him in any room. Avery lifted her chin, reminding herself she no longer belonged to him. Not his world, not his name, not his cruelty. She was here to work, nothing more, until she heard the laughter. His laughter. It cut through the ballroom like a blade. And there he was, Logan Pierce, standing near the grand staircase in a fitted black tuxedo, hair slicked back the way he knew she used to like. Except now he wasn't alone. Hanging onto his arm was his new fiancée, Tessa Vaughn, one of those perfect Instagram faces with teeth too white and a dress too glittering to touch. They made sure everyone saw them. They wanted to be seen. Avery froze. Logan didn't. His eyes locked onto her instantly, widening with satisfaction. The same satisfaction he once had when he convinced her to quit her job, when he told her she wasn't polished enough to attend his office parties, when he erased parts of her until she barely recognized herself. "Well," Logan said loudly, pulling Tessa closer as he strolled toward Avery. "Look who finally made it into a real Manhattan event." Several heads turned. Avery's stomach twisted. Tessa gave a small giggle, brushing her hair behind her ear as if posing for a camera. "Is this the ex you told me about?" she asked, voice sweet but edged with mockery. Logan smirked. "Yes, poor thing, she never could keep up." Avery felt her cheeks burn. She should walk away. She should say something. She should defend herself. But for a moment the old fear wrapped around her ribs. Then a calm, steady voice behind her said, "Avery? You okay?" Cole Harrington stepped into view, casually dressed, completely out of place among tuxedos and diamonds, but somehow drawing every eye near them. Calm, steady, familiar. Logan blinked, confused. Tessa blinked twice, recognizing him from somewhere. And Avery swallowed hard, because Cole wasn't supposed to be here tonight. And yet he was, standing right behind her, quiet, solid, dangerous, for all the right people. And Logan hadn't realized yet that the man he just dismissed was the one person he should fear most. Avery Monroe never wanted to set foot inside the Plaza Hotel again. Not after everything that happened with Logan Pierce. Not after the divorce papers stained with her tears. Not after he made sure every circle in Manhattan believed she was the unstable, ungrateful wife who held him back. But on this cold Friday night, under the glow of the gold chandeliers and the soft hum of violins, she had no choice. Her small Brooklyn agency was covering the Bright Futures Charity Gala, and she was assigned to capture behind-the-scenes content. She walked through the revolving doors, clutching the strap of her worn camera bag, trying not to stare at the line of Mercedes and Bentleys pulling up outside. This world used to terrify her. The lace dresses, the champagne towers, the forced smiles hiding sharp teeth. It still did in some ways. But nothing terrified her more than the possibility of seeing him. Logan, her ex-husband, the man who once told her she was lucky to stand next to him in any room. Avery lifted her chin, reminding herself she no longer belonged to him. Not his world, not his name, not his cruelty. She was here to work, nothing more. Until she heard the laughter, his laughter. It cut through the ballroom like a blade. And there he was, Logan Pierce, standing near the grand staircase in a fitted black tuxedo, hair slicked back the way he knew she used to like. Except now he wasn't alone. Hanging onto his arm was his new fiancée, Tessa Vaughn, one of those perfect Instagram faces with teeth too white and a dress too glittering to touch. They made sure everyone saw them. They wanted to be seen. Avery froze. Logan didn't. His eyes locked onto her instantly, widening with satisfaction. The same satisfaction he once had when he convinced her to quit her job, when he told her she wasn't polished enough to attend his office parties, when he erased parts of her until she barely recognized herself. "Well," Logan said loudly, pulling Tessa closer as he strolled toward Avery, "look who finally made it into a real Manhattan event." Several heads turned. Avery's stomach twisted. Tessa gave a small giggle, brushing her hair behind her ear as if posing for a camera. "Is this the ex you told me about?" she asked, voice sweet but edged with mockery. Logan smirked. "Yes, poor thing, she never could keep up." Avery felt her cheeks burn. She should walk away. She should say something. She should defend herself. But for a moment, the old fear wrapped around her ribs. Then a calm, steady voice behind her said, "Avery, you okay?" Cole Harrington stepped into view, casually dressed, completely out of place among tuxedos and diamonds, but somehow drawing every eye near them. Calm, steady, familiar. Logan blinked, confused. Tessa blinked twice, recognizing him from somewhere. And Avery swallowed hard, because Cole wasn't supposed to be here tonight, and yet he was. Standing right behind her, quiet, solid, dangerous, for all the right people. And Logan hadn't realized yet that the man he just dismissed was the one person he should fear most. Word count 507 words. You said, "Hej fatin fan hai chodu sao chan tu dam bao vit dung sao chan tu chi cho sự sedik, mami tu ban đi nhớ điều này nhớ dam bao kinh ban go trục chiều view, vit ban ting hang mi, cho li vit content chiều view king l, said. Part 2. Avery's past. The marriage built on sand, 602, Sysosis 50, Cliffner and Dutton va Bao Kauso 2. Avery Monroe used to believe marriage meant safety, stability, a place where two people built a life together, even if it wasn't perfect. That belief died the day she married Logan Pierce. To the world, Logan was charming, driven, polished, one of those Wall Street men who walked fast, talked faster, and always looked like he belonged on a magazine cover. But to Avery, he had once been the sweet guy she met during a night shift at a Brooklyn bookstore. He bought a copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius and told her it changed his life. She had no idea then that he only read the first 5 pages to sound deep. They married young, not too young, but young enough that she still believed love could fix anything. At first, Logan treated her like a prize. He brought her tulips from Trader Joe's, kissed her forehead every morning, told her he felt seen by her. Avery tried to support him through the grind of finance, long nights, missed dinners, moments when he came home too exhausted to speak. She told herself all couples went through that, but the cracks appeared quickly. Then the cracks became walls. The first time he called her embarrassing, it was because she wore a simple blue dress to one of his office events. "Everyone else's wife is put together," he whispered sharply. "You look average." She laughed it off then, but the words stuck. The second time, he told her to quit her job at a small art studio because it didn't match his image. He wanted a wife who hosted dinners, wore tailored dresses, and stayed quiet during business conversations. Avery tried to push back, tried to explain she needed her own life. But Logan never yelled. He didn't have to. He used disappointment like a weapon, and she broke a little more each time. The worst came when her mother fell sick. Avery spent nights at the hospital, barely sleeping, barely eating. Logan visited once. Just once. He stood at the foot of the hospital bed, checked his Rolex and said, "I can't keep missing work for this. It's not good for my career." Her mother passed away 3 weeks later. Logan didn't come to the funeral because he had a rooftop networking event he couldn't miss. That was the night something in Avery hardened. But Logan wasn't done hurting her. When his firm struggled financially, he secretly used her name to take out a joint credit line just for a month or two. Except he never closed it. When bills started arriving, he blamed her for being reckless. Eventually, when Avery confronted him, he twisted it into an argument about her being too emotional to understand money. And then came the final blow, when she stumbled upon messages from a woman named Lily from his office. Explicit, cruel, gloating. Logan didn't hide, he didn't deny, he simply shrugged and said, "A man with my goals needs someone who can keep up." She left that night with one suitcase and no plan. He filed for divorce first, he controlled the narrative. His friends believed him. Avery didn't have the money or confidence to fight back. She signed the papers in silence. Now, standing in the plaza, Facing the same man who once ground her identity to dust, Avery felt every old wound pulse beneath her skin. But tonight wasn't the past. Tonight, someone stood behind her. Someone Logan didn't know he should fear. And the moment Logan learns who Cole truly is, everything he built will start to burn. Avery Monroe remembered the divorce not as a single moment, but as a slow, suffocating collapse, like watching a building crack from the foundation until the entire structure gave way. Looking back, she realized Logan never wanted a partner. He wanted a prop, a woman who looked good in photos, spoke only when spoken to, and worshipped the ground he walked on, and she had spent years shrinking herself to fit the role. When the final breaking point came, it wasn't cinematic. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't even loud, it was quiet, it was cruel. It was the day Avery found an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside were divorce papers already signed by Logan. No conversation, no counseling, not even a fight. Just his cold, precise handwriting on a yellow sticky note. "This is for the best. Don't make this difficult." She stared at the words, wondering if this was the same man who once held her hand at Coney Island and told her he couldn't imagine a life without her. The same man who on their wedding day promised to choose her in every season while slipping a simple silver ring onto her finger. But the silver had worn off long before the marriage did. When she confronted him that evening, Logan didn't raise his voice. He never needed to. He sat on the couch, scrolling his phone, not even looking up. "We've outgrown each other, Av," he said casually. "You're still living like a girl from Brooklyn. I'm going places." "What about the debt in my name?" she asked, voice shaking. "Oh, that." He waved his hand dismissively. "I needed it for a business move. Don't be dramatic." "You forged my consent, Logan." He looked up then, those sharp Wall Street eyes cold and flat. "It's only illegal if you're stupid enough to tell someone." Her stomach dropped. That was the moment she realized she never truly knew him. The fight that followed wasn't really a fight. It was a demolition. Logan dismantled her piece by piece, calling her unambitious, dependent, boring, ungrateful. Every word chipped away at whatever dignity she had left. 3 days later, she was forced to sign the papers in the hallway of a hospital where her mother lay dying. She didn't want Logan there, not after he skipped the funeral planning to attend a networking brunch, but the timing was cruel. He shoved the documents into her hands and insisted they wrap things up. She signed. She didn't cry, not until Logan walked away and the pen slipped from her fingers. After her mother's funeral, Avery moved into a tiny studio in Brooklyn. She kept her camera, a few clothes, and a half-used notebook filled with dreams she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Logan kept the apartment, the furniture, the shared savings, and, worst of all, the narrative. He told friends she'd gone emotionally unstable. He told colleagues she'd become baggage. And because he wore suits and confidence, people believed him. Avery rebuilt quietly, piece by fragile piece. She took a low-paying creative assistant job. She freelanced photography jobs at night. She paid off small debts first, ignoring the larger ones that kept her awake. She drank cheap coffee from the corner bodega and convinced herself she was fine. But every time she saw a black Mercedes on the street, her chest tightened. Every time she heard about Logan's promotion, she swallowed bitterness. Every time she heard he was seen with a new woman, she wondered how he managed to rise while she struggled to breathe. And now, here, in this gilded ballroom, facing him again felt like stepping back into the fire. But this time, she wasn't alone. Cole Harrington stood a few feet behind her, not touching, not interrupting, just there, like a quiet wall she could lean on without asking. And Logan was seconds away from realizing the man behind Avery wasn't just any guest. He was the one person who could destroy Logan's entire empire with a single decision. Brooklyn was never part of Avery Monroe's plan. She always imagined her 30s in a quiet suburban home with a small garden, maybe a Labrador, maybe a baby on the way, maybe a marriage built on the kind of trust she used to believe existed. Instead, she found herself hauling boxes up 3 flights of cracked apartment stairs that smelled faintly of old paint and someone's leftover curry. Her new studio was barely bigger than the walk-in closet in her old apartment with Logan. The radiator hissed at night, high. The windows rattled in the wind, and the single overhead bulb flickered when the neighbor upstairs microwaved anything. But it was hers. No one told her where to sit, what to wear, or how to breathe inside these four uneven walls. Still, freedom didn't pay bills. The first few months were brutal. Avery scraped by doing freelance design work, logo cleanups, social media banners, occasional photography gigs that paid in exposure more than cash. She took a full-time job as a creative assistant at a tiny agency in Bushwick, where the boss called everyone kiddo, regardless of age, and the break room coffee tasted like burnt socks. But she didn't complain. She couldn't. Debt collectors called 3 times a week. The medical bill from her mother's final months loomed like a shadow she couldn't escape. And the secret joint credit line Logan opened under her name continued to grow interest. A reminder of the chains she was still dragging, even after leaving him. Some nights, Avery lay awake staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering if she'd made a mistake walking away. Not because she missed him, but because rebuilding alone felt impossible. Every time she felt herself slipping, she remembered her mother's last words. "You were not born to live small, sweetheart." Those words became her anchor on the hardest days. Mila Sanders, her best friend from childhood, visited often. As a nurse in Queens, Mila worked long shifts but always found time to check on her. She'd show up with grocery bags, leftover hospital muffins, or a bottle of cheap rosé and say, "You're doing better than you think of." Avery didn't always believe her, but she clung to the comfort. Work slowly became a lifeline. Avery poured everything into it, her ideas, her late nights, her hunger to prove she wasn't the broken girl Logan painted her to be. Her designs improved. Clients started requesting her. Her boss trusted her with bigger projects. She finally bought a second-hand MacBook from Craigslist and felt like she'd upgraded her life by a century. On weekends, she wandered through Brooklyn farmers markets with her camera, capturing people, colors, little moments of humanity she used to overlook. Those photos turned into a small online portfolio that unexpectedly gained traction. She didn't feel proud yet, but she felt something close to breathing again. And then came the day everything changed. Late one rainy afternoon, she was assigned to meet a potential client at a quiet coffee shop in Williamsburg. She was exhausted, running on half a bagel and cold bodega coffee, and fighting a migraine. When she pushed open the coffee shop door, the warm smell of espresso wrapped around her like a blanket. In the corner, by the window, sat a man with a calm posture, a worn leather notebook, and a simplicity that didn't belong to the loud world she had escaped. He looked up. Their eyes met. She didn't know it then, but this stranger, this softly dressed, quietly confident man, would become the turning point of her entire life. And fate had arranged this meeting long before Avery ever stepped into Brooklyn, because the quiet man waiting in that corner was Cole Harrington. And he had already decided Avery's story wasn't finished yet. Avery rushed into the Williamsburg coffee shop, brushing raindrops off her jacket as the bell above the door chimed softly. The place was warm, dim hanging lights, wooden tables, the soft hiss of steaming milk. It smelled like fresh pastries and comfort, something she desperately needed after a day that felt like a storm inside her chest. She scanned the room for the potential client she was supposed to meet, an indie jewelry designer looking for branding help. She expected someone expressive, loud, maybe wearing 10 rings. Instead, she saw a man sitting alone at the corner table, his posture relaxed, pen tapping lightly against a worn leather notebook. He didn't look like a client. He didn't look like anyone who belonged to her world at all. Their eyes met for half a second, warm, steady, unexpected. Avery looked away quickly, embarrassed by the flicker of connection she wasn't ready for. She set her camera bag down and pulled out her laptop, trying to appear busy. She had barely opened the document when the barista approached her. "Your client called. They're stuck on the L train, running at least 40 minutes late." Of course, because when it rained, it poured, literally and metaphorically. She sighed, whispering, "Great, just perfect," before ordering a small latte she couldn't really afford. She took a seat, tapping her fingers anxiously against the table while the rain tapped harder against the windows. A moment later, the man from the corner stood and approached her table. "Excuse me?" he said gently. "You look like someone who's waiting on someone who isn't showing up." Avery blinked, startled. "Is it that obvious?" He smiled, not the kind of smile meant to impress, not the kind meant to flirt, just a soft, understanding curve of the lips. Only because I've been that person more times than I can count. He gestured to the empty seat across from her. May I? She was hesitant. The old Avery, the one trained by Logan to distrust her instincts, wanted to shut down and retreat, but something in this man's eyes felt familiar. Not familiar like she knew him, but familiar like safety, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Sure, she said softly. He sat down, closing his notebook. Up close, Avery noticed small details. His shirt was simple but well-fitted, his hands steady, his presence calm in a way that immediately lowered her guard. Not a Wall Street man. Not a polished executive. Not a flashy tech bro. Just calm. I'm Cole, he said. Avery. He nodded as if he already knew the name, though that was impossible. Rough day? She gave a humorless laugh. Is it that obvious too? Rain usually makes honesty easier, he replied. People stop pretending when they're soaked. That made her smile, really smile, for the first time in days. They talked. Nothing heavy at first. Coffee preferences, favorite neighborhoods in New York, the chaos of the subway, the curse of unreliable clients. Cole listened, really listened, in a way Avery wasn't used to. Logan never listened unless it benefited him. But Cole asked thoughtful questions, the kind that required presence, not ego. When she accidentally mentioned her creative work, he looked interested, not in a patronizing way, but in a curious, appreciative way. I'd love to see your photography sometime, he said. Avery felt her chest warm and tighten at the same time. Compliments usually triggered anxiety because she feared the motive behind them. But Cole's words felt clean, simple, without agenda. Their conversation flowed so easily that she didn't notice the time until her phone buzzed. The client canceled. Again. Avery closed her eyes in frustration. I'm sorry, Cole said, genuinely meaning it. That's rough. It happens, she murmured, though the disappointment was sharp. Cole paused for a moment, then said, if you're free Saturday, there's an art exhibit in Soho. Independent creators, small studios. Thought you might like it. Avery's breath caught. A stranger asking her out? No, his tone wasn't romantic. It was respectful, gentle, safe. Still, fear lingered like a bruise. She hesitated. Cole noticed and didn't push. His smile remained soft. No pressure, just an invitation. Avery nodded once. Maybe, I'll think about it. Good, he said, standing to leave. I hope you do. He walked toward the door, raincoat in hand. Before he stepped outside, he glanced back at her with that same steady warmth. And Avery realized this man wasn't just a stranger she'd met in a coffee shop. He was the beginning of something she wasn't ready for, but desperately needed. Avery didn't go to the art exhibit that Saturday. She wanted to. She replayed Cole's invitation in her mind for 2 straight days, wondering what it meant, what he wanted, whether she misunderstood the softness in his voice. But fear, old, familiar, bone-deep fear, kept her frozen. Fear of repeating her past. Fear of trusting the wrong man. Fear of stepping into anything that looked like hope. On Saturday afternoon, she sat in her studio apartment with her knees pulled to her chest, staring at the rain sliding down the window. She knew she was hiding. She knew she was sabotaging something that felt different from anything she'd experienced in years. But fear didn't care. Fear convinced her that safety meant staying small. Sunday passed in a blur of cleaning, laundry, freelance deadlines, and avoidance. On Monday morning, she told herself she'd forget the whole thing happened. She'd buried herself in work, trying to drown her thoughts in client requests and deadlines. But life didn't let her hide for long. 3 days later, she walked into the same Williamsburg coffee shop to meet a coworker, and there he was. Cole, sitting in the corner seat, notebook open, same calm presence, same quiet warmth, except this time, the moment their eyes met, a small smile touched his lips. Avery's breath hitched. She felt caught, not in a dangerous way, but in a way that made her heart stutter. He stood when he saw her walking toward the counter. You didn't make it to the exhibit, he said gently. It wasn't accusation. It wasn't disappointment, just an observation softened by understanding. I'm sorry, Avery whispered, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I wasn't feeling up to it. Cole nodded slowly, as if he knew exactly what she meant. Some days are heavier than others. His tone was so steady, so free of pressure, that Avery felt her guard lower an inch. Just an inch, but enough for her to notice it. Her coworker texted saying she was delayed, giving Avery unexpected time. Cole motioned to the same seat across from him. the one she'd sat in during their first meeting. Join me? She hesitated, always hesitating. But she sat. This time, Cole didn't ask questions immediately. He let the silence breathe, sipping his coffee, giving her room to settle. Avery found herself studying him. The simplicity of his clothes, the faint wear on the leather of his notebook, the faint scar near his eyebrow that hinted at a past he rarely mentioned. Eventually, she whispered, "I didn't skip the exhibit because I didn't want to go." He looked at her, not intensely, not intrusively, just present. "I know," he said quietly. "How?" she asked, confused. Cole smiled faintly. People who've been hurt recognize the pauses in others. The words struck her like a soft blow. She inhaled sharply. "You've been hurt?" she asked before she could stop herself. Cole tapped his notebook once. "Most people have. I'm no exception." Avery wanted to ask more, but something told her he wasn't ready, not yet. Instead, they talked about small things. Art, music, hidden gems in Brooklyn. Avery found herself laughing once, a real laugh, and the sound startled her. Cole noticed and looked pleased. Not proud, not triumphant, just quietly glad she felt lighter. When her coworker finally arrived, Avery stood reluctantly. "It was nice seeing you," she said. Cole slipped his notebook into his bag. "It's always nice seeing you." Her heart skipped. She turned toward the door, shaken by how easily he made her feel human again. Not small, not inadequate, not burdensome. Human, safe, alive. As she stepped into the afternoon air, her phone buzzed. A message, from an unknown number. "Hope your week gets lighter." C. Avery stared at the initials, C. Cole. Her chest tightened, not with fear but with something she hadn't felt in a long, long time. Possibility. But possibilities were dangerous. They could lift you. Or crush you. And Avery had no idea yet that the man sending that gentle message had a world behind him she wasn't ready to face. A world that would collide violently with her past far sooner than she expected. Avery never imagined a single email could flip her entire world upside down. But that's exactly what happened on a Wednesday morning, when she was hunched over her secondhand MacBook at the agency, editing a dull product photo for a client who insisted their cheap jewelry needed luxury lighting. Her inbox pinged. Subject: Bright Futures Charity Gala, Media Access Confirmation. Avery frowned. She didn't remember applying for access. Her agency didn't handle events of that caliber. They usually managed small brand pop-ups or local product launches, not elite Manhattan galas dripping in diamonds and generational wealth. She clicked the email. Her heart dropped. "You have been approved as one of the content leads for our upcoming gala at the Plaza Hotel. We look forward to your coverage." Avery sat frozen, her stomach twisting into knots. The Plaza, Manhattan's crown jewel, and the Bright Futures Gala, Logan's world. Logan's firm sponsored it every year. Logan invited every shiny Wall Street connection he ever made. Logan loved showing off there. Her vision blurred. Of all the events in New York, why this one? She reread the email, hoping she misunderstood. But her name was clearly listed. Her agency's creative director had CC'd her with a flippant message. "Thought you'd be perfect for this. Don't be late. Big opportunity." Opportunity? More like a trap wrapped in gold foil. Just imagining Logan smirking across that ballroom made her chest tighten. She hadn't seen him face to face since the divorce, and she preferred it that way. In public spaces, Manhattan especially, Logan transformed. He loved performing, loved humiliating her in the most subtle ways. She could already hear his voice dripping with superiority. "Still doing little projects, Ave? Still not keeping up?" Her pulse raced. She needed air. Avery slipped out of the office and walked down the block, stopping at a nearby bench, clutching her phone like it was the only solid thing left in her world. For a moment she considered backing out. She could tell her boss she was sick. She could fake a family emergency. She could quit, anything to avoid walking back into the mouth of the beast. Her phone buzzed. A message from Cole. "Good morning. Did you eat?" Avery let out a shaky exhale. Just seeing his name grounded her. She typed a weak reply. "Big work assignment. Not great." He called immediately. "Avery, what's wrong?" His voice was calm, so calm she almost cried right there on the sidewalk. "I got assigned to cover a gala," she whispered. "That sounds exciting. Why do you sound terrified?" "It's not just any gala," she said. "It's his gala. Logan's. I can't face him." Cole went silent. Not a cold silence, a thoughtful one. Then, gently, "Do you want me to come with you?" Avery's breath caught. He didn't ask for details. He didn't ask why it scared her. He just offered support, quiet, steady, uncomplicated. "I can't ask you to do that," she murmured. "You're not asking," he replied. "I'm offering." Her throat tightened. Part of her ached to say yes. Part of her feared dragging Cole into her bruised past. He didn't deserve the ghosts that followed her like shadows. But the thought of walking into that ballroom alone made her nauseous. "I'll think about it," she whispered. "I'll be there if you want me," Cole said softly. "Just say the word." Avery hung up, feeling both comforted and terrified. When she returned to the office, the gala assignment glared at her from her desk. There was no escape. If she wanted a real career in the creative world, she had to take the risk. Step into the room she'd been running from. But facing Logan meant reopening every wound she'd carefully stitched shut. And facing him with Cole by her side? That was a different kind of risk, one she wasn't sure she was brave enough to take. Little did Avery know, Cole already had a connection to the gala that would make her question everything she thought she knew about him and about herself. The week leading up to the gala felt like walking through water. Slow, heavy, suffocating. Avery couldn't escape it. The Plaza Hotel posters were plastered online. Her agency buzzed with excitement about big exposure. Coworkers whispered about designer gowns and celebrity appearances, and every time someone said the Plaza, Avery felt her stomach twist. Logan thrived in places like that. He belonged to that world far before she ever entered it, and he reminded her of it every chance he got. Now she would walk into his arena with a camera strapped over her shoulder like she was staff. Exactly the role he used to accuse her of being born for. By Thursday, she still didn't know what to wear. Her studio apartment looked like a tornado hit it. Clothes piled everywhere. Dresses she once wore with Logan felt tainted. Too tight, too revealing, too expensive looking for someone who no longer lived in that circle. She tried on a plain black dress, but it made her look like she was attending a funeral. Fitting maybe, since it felt like she was marching toward the death of her dignity. Mila stopped by after her hospital shift, still in scrubs, hair tied in a messy bun. "Let me see," she said, plopping down on the bed. Avery stepped out wearing a navy dress she'd bought years ago on clearance. It was simple, a little worn, a little faded. Mila's expression softened with pity. "Oh, Ave?" Avery sank onto the mattress beside her. "I can't show up dressed like I'm competing with Tessa." "You don't have to compete with anyone," Mila replied firmly. "But you do need to show Logan you survived him." Avery laughed bitterly. Survived is a generous word. Mila squeezed her hand. "You're standing, that's enough." Then she opened the small duffel bag she'd brought. Inside was a long, elegant dark green dress, silky, draped, timeless. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, just beautiful. Avery gasped. "Mila, I can't wear that. It looks expensive." "It was my aunt's. She wore it once to a fancy work gala. She told me to keep it for a special moment, and this is one." Avery touched the fabric, tears rising without permission. "Thank you," Mila grinned. "Besides, if Logan sees you in this, his ego will snap like a breadstick." Avery laughed through the emotion. But later, when she stood alone in her bathroom trying on the dress, she almost didn't recognize herself. The dark green contrasted beautifully against her skin. The neckline was modest but elegant. For a moment, she looked like someone who belonged somewhere. But fear crept in again. Belong? Where? Beside who? Her phone buzzed. "Cole, Saturday night? Are you sure you're okay to go alone?" Avery stared at the message for a long moment. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. She typed, "I'll be fine. I need to face this myself." But she didn't send it. Instead, she typed, "Can you meet me outside? Just before it starts?" The 3 dots appeared instantly. "I'll be there." Warmth bloomed in her chest, mixed with nerves she couldn't name. She shouldn't rely on him. She shouldn't drag him into her past. But the thought of facing Logan alone made her dizzy. Saturday came quicker than expected. The city glittered with winter lights. Yellow cabs splashed through puddles. The plaza's facade glowed like a palace from another era. Avery's hands shook as she tightened the strap on her camera bag. Her breath fogged in the cold air. She took one step toward the entrance, then froze. Because across the street, leaning casually against a black town car, wearing a suit that fit too perfectly to be accidental, was Cole. Not casual Cole. Not coffee shop Cole. A different version entirely. A version that made her stomach flip and her fears spike all at once. And Avery suddenly realized she didn't know who Cole Harrington really was, but tonight she was about to find out. The Plaza Hotel shimmered against the cold Manhattan night. Its golden lights reflected on the wet pavement like something out of a dream or a nightmare. Avery stood frozen on the sidewalk, her breath turning to frost in the air as she stared across the street. Because the man waiting for her wasn't the gentle, quiet Cole she knew from coffee shops and rainy afternoons. This Cole wore a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that looked like it had been measured by someone who dressed senators or CEOs. His dark hair was brushed back, revealing sharp angles she hadn't noticed before. He checked his watch, a sleek, understated piece of metal that screamed old money, and spoke briefly to the driver of the black town car beside him. Avery's pulse hammered. Who was this man? And why did he look like he belonged here, outside the plaza, more than Logan ever had? Cole finally spotted her. A small, warm smile touched his lips, softening the edge of his powerful posture. He stepped away from the car and crossed the street toward her. Each step he took made her heart beat wildly in her chest. "Hey," he said softly, "you look incredible." Avery swallowed hard. You look different?" His expression flickered with amusement. "I clean up when necessary." "Necessary for what?" she asked before she could stop herself. Cole didn't answer. Instead, he gently offered his arm. "Ready?" No, absolutely not. She was not ready for whatever this night was about to become. But she slid her hand through his arm anyway. Together, they walked toward the grand entrance. The revolving doors spun with wealthy guests, executives, socialites, donors dripping in jewelry. The sound of a live string quartet floated from inside. Avery's grip on Cole's arm tightened. He felt her tension and leaned slightly closer. "You're not alone tonight, Avery," she nodded, drawing a slow breath. But just as they stepped onto the marble staircase, a flash of light exploded in front of them. Then another, and another. A photographer. No, multiple. Avery blinked, startled. "Sir, over here, Cole," one of them shouted. Her heart dropped. They knew him. "Cole, is that your date?" Another yelled. "What brings you to the gala tonight?" Avery's blood ran cold. This wasn't normal. This wasn't coincidence. You don't get paparazzi attention unless you are someone. But Cole didn't flinch. His hand remained steady on her back as he guided her through the crowd. "Ignore the cameras," he murmured. "Ignore them? How?" Inside the lobby, Avery pulled away slightly, breath uneven. "Cole, who are you?" He paused, not guiltily, not nervously, but thoughtfully. "Avery, I promise I'll explain, just not here. Not with him around." Him. The word hit her like a shove, and as if summoned by fate itself, Logan Pierce appeared at the top of the staircase, Tessa Vaughn clinging to his arm. He looked every bit the man Avery remembered, polished, proud, hungry for admiration. When he spotted Avery, his eyes widened in disbelief. But then he saw Cole, and the disbelief curdled into something else, recognition. Logan froze. Tessa's smile faltered. Cole's expression cooled into a neutrality so controlled it sent a shiver down Avery's spine. "Logan Pierce," Cole said, voice low and even. "I didn't expect to see you this early in the evening." Logan swallowed, suddenly unsure. What are you doing here?" Cole didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at Avery, as if silently asking whether she wanted him to take the lead or let her stand on her own. Avery felt a new strength pulse inside her chest. She stepped forward, chin lifted. "I'm working the event," she said evenly. "Didn't expect you to notice." Logan opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Because all around them, people were whispering, not about Logan, but about Cole. Avery heard fragments. "That's him. One of the biggest tech investors. Net worth is insane. He rarely makes public appearances." Her world tilted. Cole wasn't just someone. He was someone powerful, someone dangerous to the right people. And Logan knew it. And Avery hadn't even learned the half of it yet. The ballroom inside the plaza felt like another universe. Golden chandeliers dripping from the ceiling, attendees wrapped in luxury fabrics, the hum of elite conversation blending with the light music from a live quartet. Avery had photographed events before, but nothing like this. Nothing that made her feel so small, so misplaced, so watched. Especially because Logan Pierce hadn't stopped staring at her since she walked in. His eyes followed her like a shadow wearing an expensive suit. She could feel his scrutiny burning into her back as she adjusted her camera equipment, pretending she didn't notice the whispers around them about Cole Harrington. Cole stood only a few feet away. Aura calm, posture composed. Yet something about his presence made the room bend around him. People recognized him. Powerful people. People who would have scoffed at Avery if she'd come alone. But tonight, their eyes lingered a beat longer when they realized she wasn't. Logan approached with Tessa in tow, chest puffed out as if he were ready to perform for an audience. "Well, well," he said loudly enough for nearby guests to turn. "Look who's finally upgraded her life, or borrowed someone else's." Tessa giggled, all sugary sweetness with venom underneath. "Is this your new friend, Avery? He seems, what's the word, unexpected?" Avery's cheeks warmed, but before she could answer, Cole stepped beside her, subtly positioning himself between her and Logan. "Logan," Cole said with a smooth nod. "Still dramatic, I see." Logan's smile twitched. "Most people would kill for the attention I get at these events." Cole's expression didn't change. "Is that why your last 3 business deals fell apart? Too busy performing to actually deliver?" Several heads snapped toward them. Avery nearly choked. Logan's jaw clenched. Tessa's grip tightened on his arm. But Logan recovered quickly, plastering on an arrogant smile. "Cute. But I'm doing fine, more than fine, in fact." He lifted Tessa's hand, showing off an enormous diamond ring. "We're engaged. Real love, Cole, not charity cases." His eyes cut sharply toward Avery. Her chest tightened. "That's wonderful," Cole said calmly. "Truly, I hope she knows what she's agreeing to." Tessa blinked, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" Cole didn't answer. Logan jumped in, eager to regain control. "Anyway, Avery, I'm glad to see you working. I suppose this is the closest you'll ever get to being part of a real Manhattan event." He said it loudly. Loud enough that several people turned to stare at her camera bag. Avery felt her lungs shrink, old shame clawing up her throat. But before she could shrink back into herself, Cole spoke, softly but with a force that silenced the room around them. "Avery belongs in any room she walks into," he said. "You, on the other hand, should worry about staying in the rooms you think you own." Logan faltered, just a flicker. But Avery saw it. Still, he pushed forward. "You don't know anything about me." Cole's eyes hardened the slightest bit. "I know enough." A murmur spread through the nearby crowd, guests whispering, glancing nervously at Logan. Tessa shifted uncomfortably. Logan, desperate to pull attention back, threw out another jab. "You think just because you show up with a new man, it erases what you really are? A broke, dependent." "Logan." Cole's voice cut through the air like ice. "Choose your next word carefully." The music softened. Conversations quieted. People leaned in. Avery's heart pounded. Logan straightened, scoffing. "What? Are you going to do something? Defend her honor like some knight in shining armor?" Cole stepped forward, lowering his voice. "No, but I will correct your narrative." He glanced around at the gathering eyes. "Avery isn't broken. She rebuilt herself after you tried to destroy her. She's not dependent, she's self-made, and she's not beneath you. She's survived things you would crumble under." Logan's face flushed scarlet. Tessa stared between them, trying to process what she was witnessing. Cole finished, voice steady. "You didn't leave her behind, Logan. She outgrew you. That's the part you can't accept." Gasps rippled across the room. Avery stood frozen, breath caught in her chest. Logan, humiliated and trembling with barely contained rage, leaned forward and hissed, barely audible. "This isn't over." Cole's eyes narrowed, and Avery could feel something dangerous brewing, something that meant the night's true explosion hadn't even begun. Avery had barely recovered from Cole's defense when the ballroom lights shifted. A hush rolled across the room as the gala's host stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote supporter and strategic partner for this year's Bright Futures Initiative, Mr. Cole Harrington." Avery's heart stopped. The audience burst into applause. Powerful applause. The kind reserved for billionaires, political donors, and people whose signatures moved markets. Cameras flashed, heads turned, conversations froze. "Cole Harrington?" On stage? Avery stared at him, breath shallow. He didn't step forward immediately. Instead, he looked at her, 1 second of quiet reassurance, before walking toward the spotlight. Tessa gasped. "Oh my God, Logan, is that—" Logan didn't answer. His face drained of color. His jaw tightened until the muscle twitched. He suddenly looked very small in his custom-made tuxedo. On stage, Cole adjusted the microphone and spoke with calm authority. "Thank you. Tonight's cause is close to my heart. I believe in investing in futures that are often overlooked." His voice filled the ballroom, clear, steady, magnetic. Avery had heard CEOs speak before, but Cole didn't sound like a man pushing an agenda. He sounded like a man with purpose, conviction, humanity. Everything Logan pretended to be. Guests leaned in as Cole continued. "Our firm is honored to expand our partnership with Bright Futures, to support education systems, technology programs, and entrepreneurial grants. Not just in elite districts, but in communities like Brooklyn, where potential grows quietly." Avery's chest tightened. Brooklyn. Her world, her life, her struggle. Cole wasn't talking about her specifically, but somehow he was. Cameras flashed again. Guests nodded with respect. Logan wiped a bead of nervous sweat from his brow, trying to mask the panic creeping across his features. Then it happened. One guest whispered loudly enough for several nearby tables to hear. "That's Harrington Capital's CEO, the one considering the acquisition of Pearson Sloan." Avery snapped her gaze to Logan. The color drained from his face completely. Pearson Sloan. Logan's firm. The one he bragged about endlessly. The one he paraded Tessa around for. The one he claimed was on the verge of historic success. The one he used to justify every cruel choice he made. And the man standing on stage, Avery's quiet, steady Cole, was the man who held the future of Logan's career in his hands. Avery's knees wobbled. For years, Logan made her feel small. Tonight, he was the one shrinking. Cole wrapped his speech with a warm smile, humility woven into every word. "Let's continue building a future where everyone has a chance. Thank you." Thunderous applause filled the room. Avery clapped too, but her hands trembled, because suddenly everything made sense. The paparazzi outside, the expensive suit, the confidence, the way people treated him with reverence the moment he walked in. But her mind didn't immediately jump to his wealth or power. It jumped to one thought. Why didn't he tell me? When Cole stepped off the stage, dozens of attendees swarmed him. Executives, investors, philanthropists. Lights flashed, champagne glasses clinked. People congratulated him with two wide smiles. Avery stood back, overwhelmed. She didn't belong in that circle. She never had. And seeing Cole in his real element, surrounded by power, made her feel painfully, achingly aware of the distance between their worlds. Logan turned to her, voice low and bitter. "Did you know who he was? Or did you get lucky?" Avery didn't answer, because she didn't know. Not really. Tessa whispered, "Logan, if Harrington Capital buys your firm—" "Shut up," Logan snapped, voice tight with panic. But panic couldn't stop the truth that had just detonated inside the ballroom. Cole finally broke free from the crowd and walked toward Avery. His eyes were warm, human, familiar. "Avery," he said gently, "can we talk?" She opened her mouth, unsure what emotion would spill out. Shock, anger, fear, something softer. But she didn't get the chance to respond, because at that exact moment, Logan stepped between them. And the look in his eyes was one she'd seen before. The look of a man who realized he was losing everything and was about to fight dirty to get it back. Logan Pierce stepped between Avery and Cole with the swagger of a man pretending he still had control. But underneath the surface, he was unraveling. His pupils were pinpoints, his jaw locked tight, his breath shallow. Avery had seen him like this before. When he felt cornered, when he felt exposed, when he felt small. "Move," Cole said calmly, his voice steady enough to level mountains. Logan forced a smile. "Relax. I just want a moment with Avery. You've had enough of the spotlight for one night, don't you think?" Cole didn't blink. "This isn't about spotlight." "Sure," Logan scoffed, stepping closer to Avery. "You show up with Manhattan royalty and somehow this isn't about spotlight? Please." He turned to her fully. "Avery, we need to talk." "No," she whispered, her voice steadier than she expected. "We don't." Logan laughed, a brittle sound. "You don't get to decide that." But before he could continue, Tessa Vaughn appeared beside him, her designer heels clicking sharply against the marble. Her perfect makeup was starting to crack, just slightly, revealing the frantic woman underneath. "Logan," Tessa hissed, tugging at his sleeve, "we need to step aside, now." Logan shook her off. "Not now. This is important." Avery crossed her arms, trying to maintain some semblance of strength. "Logan, you've said enough tonight." "I've barely started," he snapped, voice sharp. "You think you're better than me now, because you're hanging onto his arm?" He jabbed a finger toward Cole. You think this guy is going to save you? You don't know men like him. They use women like you. Avery flinched. Cole didn't. You don't get to talk to her like that, Cole said, voice low. Logan barked a laugh. Look at you, acting like some knight. But she doesn't belong in your world, Cole. She's a nobody. A charity case. Ask anyone here. They know it. Avery's throat tightened. But she held her ground. Funny, Cole said, tilting his head. I don't remember asking for your opinion. Tessa tugged Logan again, harder this time. Logan, for God's sake, let's go. Avery noticed something then. Tessa wasn't trying to calm Logan out of concern. She looked terrified. Not of Logan, of something else. A man in a dark suit waved subtly from across the room, tapping his phone. Tessa's face went pale. Avery frowned. Is something wrong? Tessa startled, eyes darting between Avery, Logan, and the man in the suit. I need to step out. Logan, we have to. Stop interrupting me. Logan exploded, yanking his arm away. His voice echoed through the ballroom, turning heads. Tessa froze. For a moment, her mask slipped completely. Avery saw it. Fear, calculation, then something like guilt. Cole noticed too. Are you okay? He asked Tessa. She swallowed hard. I need to go. She leaned in close to Logan, whispering sharply. He's here. The guy I told you about. Avery stiffened. What guy? Tessa's eyes glistened. My ex. A beat of silence. Avery blinked. You have an ex stalking you? It's complicated, Tessa murmured, twisting her ring. I didn't tell Logan because, well, he wouldn't understand. Logan's face twisted with irritation. Oh, please. He's not here. You're being dramatic. He is here, Tessa cried, voice cracking. And if he sees me with you, it's going to get bad. Avery and Cole exchanged looks. This was not the shallow influencer she expected. Tessa's voice shook. Please, Logan, we need to go before. She stopped cold. Avery followed her gaze. A tall, broad man with a scar across his jaw was walking toward them, eyes locked on Tessa like heat-seeking radar. Logan stiffened. Who the hell is that? Tessa's lips trembled. The mistake I thought I left behind. Cole subtly moved in front of Avery. Logan instinctively stepped in front of Tessa. The ballroom filled with a hum, confusion, whispers, tension rising like smoke. Logan, Tessa breathed, voice cracking. If he reaches me. But she didn't finish the sentence. Because the man was getting closer. And he wasn't slowing down. And just like that, the night stopped being about Avery, or Logan, or Cole, because a new threat had entered the battlefield, one that none of them were prepared for. The ballroom's golden glow suddenly felt harsh, like the lights were exposing every crack and every lie floating inside the room. Avery's pulse hammered as the scar-jawed man sliced through the crowd with his eyes locked onto Tessa. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the string quartet faltered for a beat before recovering. Tessa's breath came in short, panicked bursts. Gone was her perfect influencer poise. In its place was raw fear. Logan, she whispered urgently, fingers tightening around his arm. You don't understand. He isn't just an ex. He owns people. He controls people. Logan scoffed, still clinging to his Wall Street bravado. Tessa, relax. Nobody owns anyone. Avery watched the way Tessa flinched, not at the words, but at the arrogance behind them. The man was almost upon them now, weaving around guests like they were obstacles, not humans. Cole stepped forward instinctively, positioning himself between Avery and the incoming threat. Avery felt the subtle shift in his energy, calm but razor-sharp, protective in a way that wasn't possessive, just present. Do you know him? Cole asked Tessa, voice low but steady. She nodded, tears brimming. His name is Damien. He used to run with a crowd in Vegas. I didn't know what he really did until it was too late. When I tried to leave, he said no one leaves him. Avery's stomach dropped. This wasn't drama. This wasn't jealousy. This was danger. Logan finally sensed something real, something bigger than his ego, and straightened with tension. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Tessa snapped, trembling. Because you only care about how things make you look, Logan. I couldn't tell you I once dated a man who laundered money and threatened people. You'd drop me in a heartbeat. Logan opened his mouth, probably to deny it, but it was too late. Damien reached them. Hello, sweetheart, he said, voice dripping with cold affection. Did you think I wouldn't find you? Tessa stepped back so fast she nearly fell. Logan grabbed her arm protectively. Too tight, but at least he didn't let her slip. That's close enough, Logan said, trying to sound powerful. Damien's gaze flicked to him with amusement. And you are? Tessa's fiancé. Damien smiled, a slow, sinister smile that said he enjoyed breaking confident men. Not for long. Avery felt chills race up her spine. Cole's hand gently but firmly guided her behind him, a movement so subtle that no one else noticed. "Whatever business you have with her," Cole said quietly, "you'll handle it outside." Damien cocked his head. "And who the hell are you?" Cole didn't flinch. "Someone you don't want to test." Damien laughed. "Cute. You think money makes you untouchable?" A hush fell around them. Some guests slowly backed away, sensing the storm about to break. This wasn't gala gossip anymore. This was something volatile. Tessa stepped forward, voice cracking. "Damien, please. I left that life. I left you. I didn't tell you because I was afraid." "You should be afraid," he said coldly. Logan bristled. "Back off. She's with me now." Damien's eyes darkened. "You think that matters?" And then he said the line that made everyone freeze. "She owes me." Avery's heart dropped. "Owes you what?" Damien turned toward her, studying Avery like she had no right to speak. "Debts, time, loyalty, things she promised." "That's not true," Tessa whispered, voice trembling. Damien leaned closer, voice low and vicious. "Sweetheart, you and I both know the people I work with don't forgive debts." Avery felt bile rise in her throat. This was spiraling fast. Logan was out of his depth. Tessa was terrified. Guests were pretending not to look, but couldn't stop watching. Then Cole spoke again. Calm, controlled, but with an edge that made Avery's skin prickle. "She doesn't owe you anything," he said. "And she's not leaving with you." Damien smirked. "Who's gonna stop me?" "You?" Cole didn't answer with words. He stepped closer, not aggressively, not theatrically, but with the quiet confidence of someone who had the power to move mountains. Damien's smirk faltered. "You don't know who you're dealing with," Cole said softly. "And you don't know who I work for." Damien shot back. Cole's gaze hardened. "No," he said, "but I'm about to." Before Damien could respond, Cole's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, eyes narrowing slightly. Avery leaned toward him. "What is it?" Cole lifted his gaze to Damien slowly. "It's information about him," Cole said. "And Avery, it changes everything." Cole didn't move. He didn't blink. He just stared at Damien with a stillness so sharp the air itself felt like glass. Avery could tell. Whatever information Cole had just received wasn't random. It wasn't minor. It was something that shifted the ground under all of them. Damien's cocky smirk flickered. "What? Someone finally texted you my resume?" Cole's voice was low, deliberate. "Not your resume. Your file." The color drained slightly from Damien's face. Avery swallowed. "File?" Cole finally looked at her, his eyes steady. "Avery, Damien isn't just some violent ex. He's tied to a money laundering ring under federal investigation." Tessa gasped, covering her mouth. Logan stumbled a step back. Even the nearby guests froze, listening without pretending. Damien recovered quickly, forcing a laugh. "You don't know what you're talking about." But Cole wasn't finished. "And the investigation?" He tilted his phone toward Damien. "It just escalated. Someone inside your circle flipped." Damien's expression snapped like a rubber band stretched too far. For the first time, Avery saw fear in his eyes. Logan, sensing danger now, grabbed Tessa's arm again, not in anger, but fear. "We should leave, now." Tessa trembled. "He said they'd hurt me if I left." "You're not going anywhere with him," Cole cut in. "Either of you." Damien lunged forward a half step, but Cole didn't flinch. Two security guards near the stage picked up on the movement and subtly advanced. Damien stiffened, jaw ticking. "You think your money protects you?" Damien hissed. Cole's voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "No, but truth does. And right now the truth is that you're being watched." Avery glanced around. Sure enough, two men in black suits stood near the door, government, not hotel security. Their eyes were locked on Damien. He noticed too. His breathing changed. "I didn't come here for trouble," Damien muttered. "I came for her." He pointed at Tessa, but Tessa stepped back behind Logan, shaking her head violently. "No, I don't belong to you. I never did." "Sweetheart," Damien growled, "you owe us." "No." Cole cut in sharply. "She doesn't. Your operation is collapsing. You're clinging to whatever control you think you still have." Damien glared at him. "And who are you to say that?" Cole finally answered the question Damien had thrown at him earlier. "Harrington Capital works with federal agencies to monitor certain financial networks, including yours." A stunned silence fell. Avery felt the room tilt. Logan whispered, horrified, "You? What?" Cole didn't look away from Damien. Your time is up. Damien's face twisted. He glanced around the room at the cameras, the security, the government agents inching closer. Panic pulsed under his skin. You think this ends tonight? Damien spat. You have no idea who my people are. Cole stepped closer, expression unreadable. Oh, I know exactly who they are. Damien's bravado cracked. Tessa clung to Logan like a lifeline. Logan, usually arrogant, fearless, reckless, looked like a child who just realized the world was bigger and darker than he knew. And Avery felt something shift. A piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Cole wasn't just wealthy. He wasn't just powerful. He wasn't just influential. He was connected to a world she never imagined, one that operated behind closed boardroom doors, where billion-dollar companies and federal agencies exchanged information like currency. Cole finally exhaled. Security will escort you out, he told Damien, quietly, before the press notices. Damien stared at him. Rage, fear, disbelief tangled together. This isn't over. It is, Cole said softly, for you. Security approached. Damien stiffened, backing up. For a moment, Avery thought he might run. But instead he muttered something under his breath and let the guards take him by the arms. He didn't fight. That terrified Avery most. When Damien disappeared through the side exit, the ballroom slowly breathed again. Guests tried to pretend nothing happened. Music resumed. But something had changed. The danger wasn't over, not even close. Avery turned to Cole. You knew about him, about all of this. Cole met her gaze. I knew enough. But not everything, she whispered. His silence answered that. And then Logan, shaken yet calculating, leaned in close and whispered, Avery, if he's connected to the feds, what else has Cole been hiding from you? Avery hadn't realized she was gripping the railing of the ballroom staircase until her knuckles turned white. Damien had been escorted out, the music had resumed, and guests tried to pretend the scandal unfolding in front of them wasn't the most thrilling thing to happen all year. But the air still felt charged, electric, like the storm hadn't fully passed, just moved. Logan Pierce stood in the center of it all, chest rising and falling too quickly, eyes darting between Cole and Avery as if they held the keys to his survival. For a man who'd built his image on control, confidence, and cold calculation, he now looked dangerously close to unraveling. Why didn't you tell me any of this? Logan demanded, stepping toward Cole. The desperation in his voice cracked through the arrogance. The federal investigation? Damien's ties? I could've. Cole raised an eyebrow. You could've what? Helped? Logan, your firm has been doing business with companies tied to Damien's network for years. If anything, you should be answering questions. A hush fell around them as nearby guests pretended not to listen. Avery blinked. Logan, is that true? He hesitated. Too long. I didn't know, he snapped, as though his eyes flickered with guilt. We do business with everyone. You can't expect me to background check every potential partner. Cole gave him a cold, deliberate look. That's exactly what responsible financial firms do. But Pearson Sloan doesn't, which is why the acquisition review raised red flags. Logan's face drained of color. Acquisition review? Avery froze. She remembered the whispers earlier, the murmurs about Harrington Capital potentially acquiring Logan's firm. She hadn't dared to believe it. You're buying Pearson Sloan? Logan choked out. Cole didn't deny it. Logan staggered back like he'd been hit. You can't do that. You won't. Our numbers, our growth, it's solid. Cole folded his hands calmly. Your numbers are inflated, your projections are unrealistic, and your risk exposure is catastrophic. Any competent analyst can see that. Tessa sucked in a breath. Several executives a few feet away went pale. Logan's voice rose. We're negotiating. We're still in talks with other investors. Not anymore, Cole said quietly. Avery watched as Logan's confidence cracked open for real this time. What does that mean? He whispered. Cole's tone stayed terrifyingly calm. It means Harrington Capital is halting all discussions. It means the SEC is receiving additional documentation tonight, and it means your board will likely remove you before the end of the quarter. Logan stumbled. Actually stumbled. Tessa grabbed his arm to steady him, but he jerked away, humiliated. You're lying. You're jealous. This is because of her. He jabbed a shaking finger at Avery. You think I don't see it? The way she looks at you? You think you're the hero, walking in here and… That's enough, Cole said sharply, but Logan didn't stop. He was spiraling now, desperate, drowning. You ruined everything, he shouted. my deals, my reputation, my future, because of a woman who couldn't even stay married, who couldn't keep up, who... Avery finally found her voice. Logan, stop. He turned sharply toward her. Avery continued, her tone steady but trembling with truth. You ruined yourself. You lied, used people, hurt people, hid behind your paycheck and your fake confidence. You treated me like a burden for years. You can't blame Cole for your downfall. Her words cut through the room like a blade. For a moment, Logan just stared at her, angry, helpless, exposed. Don't talk to me like that, he hissed. Cole stepped between them, shielding her. She'll talk to you however she wants. Logan laughed, a bitter, manic sound. You think you've won? You think she's going to choose you after everything you've hidden? Avery frowned. What has he hidden? Logan's smile sharpened like glass. Oh, Avery, you think Damien was the only secret in this room? Cole stiffened. Avery's breath caught. Logan leaned in, voice dripping with venom. You should ask Cole why your name came up in a financial review long before you met him. Avery felt the floor tilt beneath her, as if Logan's words had cracked something open that she wasn't prepared to face. Her name? In a financial review? Before she even met Cole? No, she whispered. That doesn't make sense. Logan's smile widened in triumph, an ugly, desperate triumph. Oh, it makes perfect sense. You think someone like him, someone at his level, just happens to meet someone like you in a coffee shop? What a coincidence, right? Avery stepped back as if struck. Cole's jaw tightened. Logan, you're twisting this. Am I? Logan spat. Then tell her. Tell her the truth. Tell her why her credit history flagged your analysts months ago. Tell her why her name crossed your desk. Avery felt adrenaline surge through her veins. Cole, what is he talking about? Cole didn't answer immediately. That hesitation, 1 second too long, was enough to send a fissure through her chest. Avery, he said softly, I didn't know you. I didn't know who you were. But yes, your name did appear in a review. Because of something Logan did. Logan barked a humorless laugh. Blame me for everything. Classic. Cole ignored him. His voice was steady, careful. Avery, the debt Logan opened in your name, without your consent? That loan was flagged in a forensic audit we're conducting on companies tied to Pearson Sloan. It was routine. It had nothing to do with you. Avery felt dizzy. But why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't connect you to that file, Cole said. Not until much later. Not until you told me about the debt. And by then, I didn't want to overwhelm you. You were already carrying too much. Logan leaned closer, voice dripping with poison. Or he didn't want to scare you off before he could swoop in as your savior. Avery's stomach twisted. Cole's voice hardened. That's enough. No, Avery said breathlessly. Let him talk. Apparently he has a lot to say. Cole turned to her, eyes pained. Avery, please. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered again, the words trembling. You knew something about my life before you met me. Cole took a step toward her. I didn't know you. I didn't know the woman behind the numbers. And when I met you, you were more than a file. More than a name. I wanted to know you without the weight of my world contaminating yours. Logan scoffed. Sounds noble. Almost believable. Avery's hands shook. The room felt too bright, too hot. Why didn't you tell me when you figured it out? Because you were healing, Cole said quietly, and I didn't want to re-traumatize you with more of Logan's lies. Logan stepped closer, voice rising. You don't know her. You don't know anything about her. I spent years with her. Cole's glare cut him off. And you spent those years breaking her. Logan stiffened. Avery exhaled shakily. Cole, do you investigate everyone you meet? He shook his head instantly. No, I didn't investigate you. I investigated the companies connected to your fraudulent debt. I only connected the dots when you told me the truth. It was the truth. Avery could feel it. Cole wasn't lying, but the hurt didn't fade. Not because he betrayed her, but because she trusted him so much that the smallest doubt felt like drowning. Avery took a breath, voice quiet but firm. I just needed honesty. Cole stepped forward gently. And you have it now. All of it. Logan rolled his eyes. Touching. But you forgot one thing, Cole. The board still meets tomorrow. And once they see how you mishandled sensitive information, they won't. Cole cut in, calm but lethal. Logan froze. Because, Cole continued, I recorded your admission tonight. Every word, including your confession that you opened debt under Avery's name. Gasps spread through the cluster of guests around them. Avery stared. You recorded him? Cole nodded once. For your protection. Logan's face contorted. You set me up. Cole's voice dropped to a quiet, devastating register. No, Logan, you set yourself up. I just stopped you from hurting her again. Logan lunged, unhinged. Security rushed in. Cole didn't move. Avery didn't breathe. Logan shouted, "You'll regret this, both of you. You think this is over?" But as security dragged him back, the truth was painfully clear. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of Logan's fall. And Avery was about to watch everything he built collapse in ways he never imagined. Logan Pierce had always believed he was untouchable. For years, he walked through Manhattan like the sidewalks were poured for him, like every handshake was a stepping stone, every woman an accessory, every success inevitable. But after security dragged him away from the gala floor, his kingdom began crumbling faster than he could catch the pieces. And Avery watched it, not with triumph, not with cruelty, but with a quiet, trembling strength she didn't recognize in herself. Security didn't arrest Logan that night. Cole hadn't wanted chaos in the ballroom. Instead, Logan was escorted to a private hall while event staff whispered nervously. Tessa hovered at a distance, her eyes wide and conflicted. She wasn't crying. She looked stunned. Like the curtain had finally dropped, and the man she was about to marry wasn't a hero climbing the corporate ladder, but someone sprinting toward a cliff. Cole touched Avery's arm softly. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though her pulse was still too fast. Just processing. He exhaled a breath that sounded like he'd been holding it for hours. "I'm sorry it came out this way. I didn't want you to find out from him." Avery looked at him, really looked at him. The strength, the certainty, the protectiveness. What happens now? Before Cole could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, jaw tightening. Pearson Sloan's board just called for an emergency meeting. Tonight. Avery blinked. "Tonight?" Cole nodded. "Logan's out, effective immediately." It wasn't said with pride or satisfaction, just inevitability. Across the hall, Logan erupted from the side room, shoving past security. His tie hung crooked, his hair disheveled, his eyes wild. "You did this," he yelled, pointing at Cole. "You think you could walk in here and destroy everything I built?" "You destroyed yourself," Cole said calmly. Logan's gaze snapped to Avery, sharp with accusation. "And you don't act like you're innocent. You've been waiting for this, waiting to watch me fail." Avery swallowed hard. "I never wanted this, Logan. I just wanted to be free." "Free?" he echoed, laughing like something inside him cracked. "You're nothing without someone propping you up. First me, now him." "Stop," Avery said quietly. But he didn't. He never knew how. "You think he loves you?" Logan shouted. "You think you can keep up with someone like him? He'll get bored." "They always do. And then what?" "You'll crawl back to Brooklyn and—" "Pierce," a harsh voice barked. Everyone turned. 2 federal agents approached, badges out. Logan went pale. "What is this?" he demanded, voice cracking. "Logan Pierce," the agent said. "We need to speak with you regarding irregularities discovered in the financial audits of Pierce & Sloan." Logan staggered back. No, this is a misunderstanding. I didn't do anything." The agent cut him off. "Some of the fraudulent activity traces back to accounts under your authorization." Avery's breath caught. Her debt, her suffering, her sleepless nights. Logan's face twisted in panic. "I didn't authorize anything. I didn't." But he had, and they all knew it. "You'll need to come with us," the agent said. Logan looked around desperately, at Tessa, who took a step backward, at the guests watching like spectators, at Avery, who stared with numb disbelief, and finally at Cole, who remained still unreadable. "You think you've won," Logan whispered, voice trembling. "This isn't over. I'll fix this. I'll rebuild everything." But no one believed him, not even himself. As the agents escorted him out, the ballroom fell silent. Even the quartet paused. Every pair of eyes followed him as if witnessing the fall of a titan. Avery's chest tightened, not with sympathy, but with something heavier. Closure, reality, release. Cole stepped beside her. "This ends tonight." Avery wasn't so sure. Logan had spent years weaving lies, manipulating systems, building illusions. Even cornered, men like him always had one last fight in them. And she had a sinking feeling. Logan Pierce wasn't done causing damage. Not yet. Avery left the plaza that night feeling like her soul had been shaken loose. The cold Manhattan air hit her face as she stepped outside, but instead of clearing her mind, it made everything sharper, every memory, every wound, every fear she thought she had buried. Cole walked beside her in silence, giving her space, never rushing her. A black town car waited at the curb, but Avery hesitated before getting in. "Do you want to talk?" Cole asked softly. She wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't know what I want yet." He nodded. "That's okay." But as Avery inhaled the freezing air, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her stomach knotted. She opened the message. "You ruined my life. I'm not going down alone." A chill ran down her spine. "It's from Logan." Cole's expression hardened instantly. "Block the number." "He'll just use another," Avery whispered. Cole took her phone gently but firmly. "I'll handle it." For the first time, she didn't push away his help. That night, Avery sat on her small Brooklyn couch, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled faintly of lavender from her mother's home. The city hummed through the thin windows. Her apartment felt like the last place in Manhattan untouched by the storm she had just walked through. But she wasn't safe. Not yet. Her email pinged, twice, then again. Logan. Long paragraphs. Rage and desperation poured into her inbox. "You set me up. You betrayed me. You'll regret crossing me. You think he's better than me? He's hiding things too." Avery closed her eyes, breath shaking. Cole called. "I installed extra security alerts on your accounts," he said calmly, trying not to sound alarmed. "Logan is spiraling. He feels cornered. That makes him unpredictable." Avery rubbed her temples. "This is never going to end, is it?" "It will," Cole promised, "but he'll try to hit you where it hurts before he falls." She swallowed. "And where's that?" "Your peace," Cole said. "He'll try to take that from you first." Before Avery could respond, someone banged on her apartment door. Hard. Her heart nearly stopped. She froze, breath locked in her throat. "Avery?" A voice called through the door. She exhaled in relief. It was Mila. Avery rushed to open it. Mila stood on the threshold with a paper bag of groceries and worry etched into every line on her face. "You okay?" Mila asked, stepping inside. Avery nodded weakly. "Just a lot." Mila set the bag down and pulled Avery into a hug. "I saw the news alerts. Logan being escorted out of the plaza? Girl, that man finally got what he deserved." Avery didn't smile. "He's angry," she whispered. "Really angry." Mila cupped her face. "He can't hurt you anymore." But Avery wasn't convinced. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again, this time with an email notification from her landlord. "Notice, due to a formal complaint filed regarding noise disturbances and unsafe behavior, your tenancy is under review. Please schedule a meeting within 72 hours. Avery's stomach dropped. No, this has to be a mistake." Mila grabbed her phone. "Unsafe behavior? You? That's ridiculous." Avery scrolled down. Attached was a statement from Logan, a fabricated story, claiming Avery had been emotionally unstable, had outbursts, and had men frequently coming and going at all hours. Tears stung Avery's eyes. "He's trying to get me evicted." "He won't," Mila said fiercely. "We'll fight it." But Avery felt the walls closing in. Logan knew exactly where to hit her. Her job, her housing, her sanity. Her phone buzzed again. Cole calling. She answered with shaking hands. "He's messing with my lease." "I know," Cole said, voice tight. "He's filing complaints with your employer too. He's trying to burn any corner of stability you have left." Avery sat on the couch, vision blurring. "I can't do this again. I can't lose everything again." "Avery," Cole said firmly, "you're not alone this time. What if he destroys everything before this is over?" "He won't," Cole said, "because tomorrow morning, the board of Pearson Sloan votes on immediate legal action. And once that happens, he'll be too busy fighting for his freedom to hurt anyone else." Avery didn't fully believe it, not until Cole hesitated, just for a breath, and added, "And there's something else you need to know. About Logan. About what he did behind your back." Avery's heart stopped. "Cole," she whispered, "what are you talking about?" He exhaled slowly, voice turning grave. "Avery, he didn't just open debt in your name. He tried to sabotage you long before the divorce, and I have the proof." Avery felt the world tilt as Cole's words sank in. "He sabotaged me?" she whispered. Cole didn't soften it. "Yes, and not by accident, by intention." They met the next morning in Cole's quiet Park Avenue office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a fog-covered Manhattan skyline. Mila insisted on coming with Avery for support, sitting silently beside her like a protective sister. Cole's assistant brought in hot coffee, but Avery's hands shook too much to hold the cup. Cole placed a folder on the table. "These are copies of internal communications from Pearson Sloan, the ones Logan thought he deleted." Avery stared at the folder like it was a live wire. Cole opened it gently. Inside were emails, printed, highlighted, dated. Her name appeared everywhere. Logan submitted your resume to several companies on your behalf, Cole explained. Avery blinked. That doesn't sound bad. Mila squeezed her hand. Keep reading. Avery scanned the first page. Her stomach twisted. Logan hadn't applied for jobs for her. He had applied for them to sabotage her. Emails showed Logan posing as Avery, sending unprofessional messages, rejecting offers, even arguing with HR departments. One email sent from a burner account in her name read, I don't want a job under weak leadership. Try again when you have a real team. Avery covered her mouth. Oh my God. That's not all, Cole said quietly. Another document revealed Logan had called her old art studio, the one job she loved, claiming she had emotional instability issues and was unsafe around clients. She was let go a week later. She'd blamed herself. She'd believed she wasn't good enough. Tears streamed silently down her cheeks. Why would he do this to me? I didn't do anything to deserve. Cole's voice softened. Avery, men like Logan don't need a reason to destroy the women they feel threatened by. Mila wiped Avery's tears and whispered, he was afraid of you being independent. He needed you small. Avery's shoulders shook. I thought I was failing. I thought I was the problem. You weren't, Cole said firmly. He built a cage around you, and when you tried to climb out, he cut off every rung. Avery sobbed into her hands. Years of gaslighting, fear, confusion, finally making sense. Finally untangling. Mila held her as she cried. Cole gave her space, but stayed close, eyes filled with quiet rage, not at her tears, but at the man who caused them. When Avery finally lifted her head, her voice was raw but steadier. What happens to him now? Cole exhaled. The board meets in an hour. With this evidence, they'll move forward with full legal action. Fraud, misconduct, identity manipulation. He won't be able to touch you again. Avery nodded, wiping her cheeks. She believed him. For the first time, she believed she was actually safe. And you, she said, meeting Cole's eyes, why did you gather all this? Cole hesitated. Because you deserved the truth, and because... His voice softened. I care about you more than I should. Avery's breath caught. Mila smirked quietly beside her. But Cole wasn't finished. I didn't tell you everything earlier because I didn't want you to connect me to the worst parts of your past. But I realize now you deserve honesty more than protection. He slid another envelope toward her. These are the cleared accounts. Your debts, the fraudulent ones, are gone, legally reversed. Avery's heart fluttered painfully. Cole, you didn't have to. I know, he said, but I wanted to. For the first time in years, Avery felt something she couldn't name. Lightness, relief, a future. But healing wasn't instant. It wasn't magic. It was slow, painful, brave. Avery took a breath. I want to rebuild, for real this time, without fear. And you will, Cole said, not because of me, because of you. Avery looked down at the evidence, her past exposed, her future unwritten. And though she was stronger now, one fear still lingered. Cole, what if he tries to hurt me again? Cole's voice dropped to a vow. He won't. Avery wanted to believe that. She did. But just as Cole reached for her hand, his office phone rang sharply. His assistant's voice trembled through the speaker. Mr. Harrington, you need to know this. Logan Pierce just left the federal building. Cole's expression darkened. He's out? Avery whispered, pulse racing. The assistant's voice cracked. Yes, and he's asking for Avery. Avery felt her heart rattle against her ribs. He's asking for me? She whispered. The air in Cole's office suddenly too thin, too sharp, too cold. Cole stood immediately, the calm in his expression turning into something steel-edged. He's desperate. That makes him reckless. But he's not getting anywhere near you. Mila stepped closer, voice firm. We're not letting him hurt you again. Not now. Not ever. Avery swallowed hard. Why is he asking for me? Cole exchanged a glance with his assistant, then answered gently. Because when men like Logan lose everything, they go back to the only person they think they can still manipulate. Avery felt the words like a bruise, but she didn't crumble this time. She stood straighter. I'm done being his target, she said quietly. Before anyone could respond, Cole's security team entered the office. Mr. Harrington, Logan Pierce attempted to access your building. He was stopped in the lobby. The authorities have been notified. Avery's knees weakened, but she didn't fall. Not this time. What did he say? She asked. The guard replied, he kept repeating that he needed 5 minutes with Avery. We didn't let him in. Mila scoffed. 5 minutes? After everything he did, he deserves 5 minutes in a dumpster. Despite everything, Avery huffed a tiny laugh. Cole stepped closer to her. Avery, do you want to file an official restraining order? She hesitated, just a moment, then nodded. Yes, I want this over, all of it. Cole squeezed her hand gently. Then let's end it. 2 hours later, they sat inside a quiet conference room at the federal office downtown. Avery gave her statement calmly, clearly, powerfully. Every lie Logan told, every debt he forged, every threat he sent, every attempt to ruin her life, her voice never shook. She wasn't the Avery who cried in hallways, who apologized for existing, who shrank whenever someone raised their voice. She was the Avery who survived. When she finished, the agent nodded. We already have evidence tying him to financial fraud and identity misconduct. Your testimony helps close the loop. We'll proceed immediately. Avery stepped outside, the cold air hitting her like a baptism. Free, she felt free, for the first time in years. Cole walked beside her. It's done. Avery looked up at him, her chest swelling with something warm and terrifying and beautiful. Thank you for standing by me through all of this. Cole shook his head. No, you stood by yourself. I just walked with you. She smiled softly. But he wasn't finished. I meant what I said, he murmured. I care about you. Probably more than I ever planned to. Avery's breath caught. Cole, he reached into his coat pocket, not for a ring, but for a small velvet box. Her heart stopped. It's not what you think, he said with a faint smile. Not yet. He opened the box. Inside was a key. To a home, not an escape, not a rescue plan, but an invitation. I bought a place in the Hamptons years ago, he said quietly. It's quiet, safe, peaceful. If you ever want a place to breathe or rebuild or just, this is yours. Avery's eyes filled, not from fear, from feeling seen, truly seen. I don't want to run away, she whispered. Not anymore. You're not running, he said. You're choosing. Avery took the key, her fingers brushing his. And what about us? She asked, voice trembling with hope. Cole stepped closer, cupping her cheek gently. That, he said, we build at your pace. No fear, no shadows, just us. A tear slipped down her cheek. I want that. He leaned in, forehead touching hers. So do I. 1 week later, Logan Pierce was formally charged. 1 month later, Avery moved into a brighter apartment, started a new senior creative role, fussed and let herself dream again. And on a quiet spring evening in the Hamptons, sunset glowing pink over the water, Cole finally held her hand and whispered, Whenever you're ready for the next chapter, I'm ready too. Avery looked at him, at the peace he brought into her life, at the home she had finally found in herself. I'm ready, she whispered. For the first time in years, her future felt wide open, full of love, dignity, and a freedom no one could take away again. So, that's where our story closes tonight. And if you're still here, my friend, listening until this very last moment, then something in Avery's journey must have touched your heart in its own quiet way. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe you've carried pain in silence. Maybe you've had someone try to shrink you, dim you, or make you believe you were less than you truly are. The truth is, every one of us has walked through storms we didn't deserve. But like the Stoics once said, the obstacle is the way. Pain isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And when you look at Avery's journey, you see exactly that. A woman who finally stopped trying to control the chaos around her and instead started choosing herself. And maybe that's your message tonight too. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose the life where your dignity is not negotiable. If this story reached you, healed you, or helped you see your worth a little clearer, then please, like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next journey we take together. We're here with you. You're not alone.